The desert sun burned like a grudge, relentless and unforgiving, as I stood on the edge of my 5-acre plot, staring at the horizon where sand met sky. This was my land hard won, paid for with every cent I'd scraped together after years of working oil rigs and teaching myself land surveying on the side. It wasn't much to look at: cracked earth, stubborn cacti, and the occasional tumbleweed that rolled by like it had somewhere better to be. But it was mine, a slice of nowhere I'd claimed as my own, far from the noise of cities and the meddling of neighbors. Or so I thought. The trouble started 6 months ago when the Karen Hills Homeowners Association, yes, they called themselves that, unironically rolled into my life like a dust storm. I'd heard whispers about them from the gas station clerk in town, a kid named Ricky who chewed gum like it was his job. "Bunch of city folks," he'd said, snapping his gum. "Moved out here to build their fancy gated community, acting like they own the whole desert." I'd laughed it off. My land was 20 miles from their manicured lawns and overpriced stucco mansions. What could they possibly want with my patch of dirt? I found out soon enough. One morning, a shiny black SUV pulled up to my trailer, kicking up clouds of dust that clung to my boots. Out stepped a woman who could only be described as the human equivalent of a cease and desist letter. She wore a pastel pink blazer, sunglasses perched on her head, and a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "Good morning," she chirped, extending a manicured hand. "I'm Cheryl, president of the Karen Hills HOA. We need to talk about your property." I didn't shake her hand. "What about it?" Her smile tightened. "Well, according to our records, this land falls within our community boundaries. We're expanding, you see, new amenities, a golf course, maybe even a spa. But don't worry, we're prepared to offer you a fair price to relocate." I stared at her, wondering if the heat had scrambled her brain. "Lady, I've got a deed from the county. This land's mine, clear and legal. You're 20 miles off your turf." Cheryl didn't flinch. She pulled a folded map from her briefcase and spread it out on the hood of her SUV. It was a glossy, official-looking thing, with neat lines and color-coded zones. Sure enough, my plot was shaded in as part of Karen Hills Phase 2. I squinted at the details: lot numbers, survey markers, even a little logo with a cactus wearing sunglasses. It was impressive, I'd give them that. It was also complete bullshit. "This ain't real," I said, tapping the map. "I'm a surveyor, Cheryl. Federal license. I've walked every inch of this land myself. Your map's about as legit as a $3 bill." Her smile faltered, but only for a second. "Oh, I'm sure it's just a misunderstanding. We'll have our attorney reach out. In the meantime, think about our offer. It's generous, really." She climbed back into her SUV, leaving the map behind like a calling card. I watched her drive off, the dust settling like a bad omen. That night, I dug out my own survey record charts I'd made with my theodolite, GPS data cross-referenced with county plats, the works. Everything checked out. My land was exactly where I thought it was, and Karen Hills was nowhere close. But Cheryl's map gnawed at me. It was too polished, too deliberate. Someone had gone to a lot of trouble to make it look real. Why? The next week, I got my answer. A letter arrived from a law firm in Phoenix, claiming the HOA had discovered a historical survey error that placed my land within their jurisdiction. They demanded I vacate within 30 days or face legal action. Attached was another copy of their map, now stamped with a notary's seal. I laughed out loud, but it was the kind of laugh that comes when you realize you're in deeper than you thought. I wasn't about to roll over. I fired back a letter of my own, citing my survey credentials and offering to meet their lawyer at the county recorder's office to settle it. I also started digging into the HOA. Turns out, Karen Hills wasn't just a neighborhood, it was a machine. The developer, a company called Horizon Ventures, had a reputation for snapping up desert land on the cheap, bullying small owners out, and flipping it for millions. Cheryl wasn't just a Karen. She was their point woman, a smiling bulldozer in heels. Things escalated fast. One day, I came home to find stakes driven into my land, marking out what looked like a road. A crew was unloading construction equipment nearby, and when I confronted them, they waved a work order from Horizon Ventures. "Just following orders, man," the foreman said, shrugging. I called the sheriff, but by the time he showed up, the crew had packed up and left. The stakes stayed, though, like warning shots. That's when I knew this wasn't just about my land. It was personal. Cheryl and her HOA thought they could scare me off with fake maps and legal threats. They didn't know who they were dealing with. I wasn't just a landowner. I was a federal land surveyor, trained to measure the earth itself. If they wanted a fight, I'd bring the goddamn truth. I started by filing a complaint with the Bureau of Land Management, but I knew that would take months. So I got to work. I resurveyed my entire property, double-checking every coordinate, every marker. I even pulled historical records from the 1800s, when this land was still part of a federal grant. It was tedious, but it kept my blood from boiling over. By the end, I had a survey so ironclad it could have withstood a nuclear blast. Then came the twist I didn't see coming. One evening, as I was packing my gear, a beat-up motorcycle roared up to my trailer. The rider was Ricky, the gas station clerk, looking like he'd just rolled through a sandstorm. He was wild-eyed, clutching a USB drive like it was the Holy Grail. "You gotta see this," he panted, handing it over. "I hacked their system." I raised an eyebrow. "You what?" "Okay, not hacked," he admitted, scratching his head. "My cousin works IT for Horizon. He found some files they didn't want anyone to see. It's about your land." I plugged the USB into my laptop, and what I saw made my jaw drop. Emails between Cheryl and Horizon CEO discussing how to neutralize my claim. Forged survey documents, backdated to look legit. Even a memo outlining how to bribe a county official to lose my deed. Ricky's cousin had stumbled onto a goldmine of corruption, and now it was in my hands. "Ricky, you're either a genius or a dead man," I said, copying the files to my hard drive. He grinned, snapping his gum. "Little bit of both, maybe." Armed with this, I called in a favor from an old friend, Marta, a federal surveyor who'd worked with me on tribal land disputes. She had a reputation for sniffing out fraud like a bloodhound, and when I showed her the files, she cackled. "Oh, these idiots are toast. You want me to bury them?" "Deep," I said. She filed an emergency injunction with the feds, halting all development on Karen Hill's land until a full audit could be done. That's when the HOA started getting desperate. Cheryl showed up again, this time with a lawyer who looked like he'd rather be anywhere else. They offered me double their original price to drop the complaint. I leaned back in my chair, sipping coffee. "Y'all must think I'm dumber than dirt. Get off my land." The audit was set for a Tuesday. The morning of, I woke to find my trailer surrounded not by cops or construction crews, but by a dozen Karen Hills residents, picketing. They held signs reading, "Save our community," and "Stop the outsider." Cheryl was there, of course, rallying them with a megaphone. "This man is trying to destroy our way of life," she cried, pointing at me like I stepped out onto my porch, arms crossed. "Cheryl, your way of life's built on lies. You want to talk about outsiders? How about the ones you've been fleecing?" The crowd went quiet, confused. That's when Marta rolled up in her federal SUV, followed by 2 BLM agents. She climbed out, all business, her surveyor's vest glinting in the sun. "Morning, folks," she said, holding up her clipboard. "Let's see who really owns this land." The audit was a bloodbath. Marta and I walked the property line, pointing out every discrepancy between my survey and the HOA's fake map. The BLM agents grilled Cheryl's lawyer, who stammered and sweated through his excuses. The residents started whispering among themselves, their signs drooping. By noon, it was over. My deed was upheld, and the HOA's claim was thrown out. The feds confiscated their maps and ordered a full investigation into Horizon Ventures. I thought that'd be the end of it. I was wrong. That night, I got a call from Ricky. His voice was barely a whisper. "They're coming for you, man." I heard Cheryl talking at the gas station. "They're not letting this go." I hung up, my heart pounding. I grabbed my rifle and sat on my porch, watching the horizon. The desert was still, but it felt like a trap waiting to spring. I didn't know what was coming, but I knew one thing. I'd fight for my land until the end. The desert night was colder than a lawyer's heart, and I sat on my porch, rifle across my lap, eyes scanning the darkness. Ricky's warning echoed in my head. "They're coming for you." I didn't know what they looked like, thugs hired by Horizon Ventures, a lynch mob of HOA Karens, or something worse, but I wasn't about to let them catch me sleeping. The stars burned bright above, indifferent to the mess below. My land, my fight, my truth. That's what kept me steady. Around midnight, headlights flickered in the distance, bouncing over the rutted dirt road. I gripped the rifle tighter, my pulse thumping like a jackhammer. But as the vehicle got closer, I saw it wasn't an SUV or a pickup, it was Ricky's beat-up motorcycle. wobbling like it was held together by duct tape and prayers. He skidded to a stop, kicking up sand, and yanked off his helmet. "Man, you gotta move," he panted. "They're not coming, with Gunsthyri coming with bulldozers." "Bulldozers," I said, standing. "The feds just shut them down. They wouldn't dare." Ricky shook his head, snapping his gum like a machine gun. "You don't get it. Cheryl's got a crew ready to flatten this place tonight. They're calling it reclamation. My cousin overheard her at their office. She's losing it, man, talking about how you're ruining her legacy." I cursed under my breath. Cheryl wasn't just desperate. She was unhinged. The audit had stripped away her fake maps, but she was doubling down, betting on brute force to erase me before the feds could dig deeper. "Ricky," I said, "you got a phone on you?" He nodded, pulling out a cracked burner. I dialed Marta, who picked up on the second ring, her voice groggy but sharp. "This better be good, Jake." "It ain't," I said, filling her in. She didn't hesitate. "I'm calling the BLM. Stay put, and don't do anything stupid." I hung up, turning to Ricky. "You're staying here. If this goes south, you're my witness." He grinned, nervous but game. "Cool. But, can I borrow your rifle?" "No." We didn't have to wait long. An hour later, the ground rumbled like an earthquake was waking up. Headlights blazed over the horizon, and I counted 3 bulldozers, their blades gleaming like teeth. Behind them was Cheryl's SUV, leading the charge. I stepped off the porch, planting myself in the middle of my land, rifle slung over my shoulder. Ricky hovered behind me, muttering, "This is nuts, man." The convoy stopped 50 yards out, engines idling. Cheryl stepped from her SUV, megaphone in hand. Her pink blazer swapped for a black jacket that made her look like a discount supervillain. "Jake," she bellowed, "this is your last chance. Vacate now, or we'll remove you." I cupped my hands around my mouth. "Cheryl, you're trespassing on federal protected land. The BLM's on their way. Turn around before you make this worse." She laughed, a brittle sound that carried over the desert. "You think the feds care about your little dirt patch? Horizon Ventures owns this county. By morning, this'll be a putting green, and you'll be a memory." The bulldozers revved, inching forward. I raised my rifle not to aim, but to show I wasn't bluffing. Ricky tugged my sleeve. Jake? Maybe we should, run?" "Not yet," I said, my eyes locked on Cheryl. That's when I noticed something odd. One of the bulldozer drivers was climbing out, abandoning his machine. He was a wiry guy, maybe 60, with a gray beard and a limp. He walked toward us, hands raised, ignoring Cheryl's shouts to get back. When he got close, I recognized him, Old Man Tanner, a rancher who'd sold his land to Horizon years ago. I'd seen him at the gas station, always grumbling about city vultures. "Jake," he said, his voice rough as gravel. "I ain't part of this. They hired me for the job, but I didn't know it was your land. I'm done with their lies." I lowered the rifle, stunned. "Tanner, you sure about this? They'll come after you." He spat in the dirt. "Let 'em. I lost my ranch to these snakes. Ain't letting 'em take your home too." Cheryl's megaphone screeched. "Tanner, you traitor. Get back here." But Tanner just stood there, arms crossed, a human wall. Ricky hooped, snapping his gum. "Yo, that's badass." The other drivers hesitated, their machines stalling. Cheryl's plan was unraveling, and she knew it. She stormed toward us, her face twisted with rage. "You're all finished," she screamed. "This land is ours. The maps are fake." I cut in, stepping forward. "And we've got proof. Emails, forged surveys, bribes. It's over, Cheryl. The feds have everything." Her eyes widened, and for the first time, I saw fear. She opened her mouth, but before she could speak, sirens wailed in the distance. Red and blue lights flashed, cutting through the dark. The BLM had arrived, faster than I'd hoped. Cheryl froze, her megaphone dropping to the sand. The agents swarmed in, ordering the bulldozers to shut down. Cheryl tried to run, but an agent caught her, cuffing her wrists as she shrieked about her rights. The residents who'd followed her, some of the same ones who'd picketed my trailer, stood by their cars, looking lost. One woman, clutching a "Save Our Community" sign, started crying. I almost felt sorry for them. Almost. Marta strode over, clipboard in hand. "Nice work, Jake. We've got enough to bury Horizon Ventures for good. Fraud, forgery, attempted theft of federal land." Cheryl's looking at years behind bars. I nodded, but my chest felt heavy. What about the residents? They didn't know. She sighed. Some will lose their homes if Horizon goes bankrupt. It's messy, but that's what happens when you build on lies. Tanner clapped my shoulder. You did right, son. This land's yours, fair and square. Ricky, still buzzing, held up his phone. Yo, I recorded everything. This is going viral. I shook my head, too tired to laugh. Go home, Ricky. The next few weeks were a blur. The feds raided Horizon's offices, uncovering a web of corruption that stretched from Phoenix to D.C. Cheryl and the CEO were indicted, and Karen Hills became a ghost town as residents packed up, their dream community crumbling. My land stayed untouched, but the victory felt hollow. I'd won, but at what cost? The desert was quiet again, but it carried the weight of broken lives. One morning, I found a letter taped to my trailer door. No stamp, no return address. Inside was a single sheet, handwritten in shaky script. Jake, I'm sorry. I believed Cheryl's lies, thought we were building something good. My husband's sick, and we sank everything into Karen Hills. Now we've got nothing. I don't blame you, but I wish it didn't end like this. Ellen. I recognized the name. Ellen was the crying woman from that night, the one with the sign. I sat on my porch, rereading her words, my coffee going cold. She wasn't my enemy, just another victim of Cheryl's greed. I thought about tracking her down, offering help, but what could I do? I was just a surveyor, not a savior. That night, I dreamed of the desert, endless and empty, swallowing everything me land, Karen Hills, even me. I woke up sweating, the rifle still by my bed. The fight was over, but the scars weren't. Months later, I got a call from Ricky. He'd moved to Vegas, chasing some crypto scheme, but he sounded different, quieter. You ever think about selling the land? He asked. Starting fresh? I looked out at my plot, the cacti standing like sentinels. Nah, I said. This is home. He laughed, snapping his gum. You're crazy, man. But I respect it. After we hung up, I walked the property line, my boots crunching in the sand. The stakes Cheryl's crew had driven were gone, but I could still see their ghosts, faint dents in the earth. I thought about Tanner, standing with me that night, and Ellen, left with nothing. I thought about Cheryl, her fake maps and fake smile, and how close she'd come to winning. Truth had prevailed, but it hadn't fixed everything. Some things it never could. I stopped at the edge of my land, the sun rising red and raw. The desert didn't care about right or wrong. It just was. Maybe that's why I stayed, not to win, but to hold on to something real, even if it broke my heart. What do you think about Jake's fight and the fallout? Was he right to stand his ground, knowing it would ruin lives like Ellen's? Or should he have taken the HOA's offer and walked away? Share your thoughts on where the line between justice and compassion lies.